Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NBA strategy show. Coming back from the weekend following Super Bowl 58. Game got good towards the end. Pretty exciting stuff. Kansas City Chiefs, repeat champions, first time since like 2003, 2004. Commercials mostly stunk. I can say that. But aside from that, hopefully you guys had a good weekend, enjoyed the game. I didn't do much for it. I don't know about you. Did you go out to a party or anything?
We had a couple people over here.
Yeah, that's all we did.
There's a 0% chance I would go somewhere for the Super Bowl.
I've done it before and I hate it.
Well, I hate all of it. So if I'm gonna hate watch an NFL game, I'm gonna do that from my own couch.
That's fair. I don't dislike it. The Super
No
Bowl
shit.
The Super Bowl to me is the least excited I get about football all year. I'd much rather sit by myself. And look, I'm an outgoing person. I love hanging out with people, going, doing all of that stuff. But when it comes to certain football games, you got the people that just don't care about the game and they're super loud and they don't want to watch it. To me, like my ideal football viewing experience is in the basement by myself, crack a beer, start the 1 p.m. games and watch them through without any distractions and then nobody bothering me.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to do that on the Apple Vision Pro, but other than that, yes.
Sure.
Yes, I would like no one around me for all sporting events. I want no one around me.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, if you and I were sitting down watching some games, that's different than, you know what I mean? Like, that's different than having a bunch of people who are, I mean, halftime at this point is strictly for the ladies. There's no other reason for a halftime show than to get the ladies to gather around the TV and actually tune in for a few minutes. My wife yesterday loved it. Actually, she's like, it was okay, but she wanted to watch it. She wanted to watch it. And then she went up to bed afterwards. She wasn't staying up till 11 o'clock to finish the game.
Oh yeah. The people that were at our house bailed in the third quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people. I mean, look, we only had like a couple of family members over. I didn't want to do anything. But I don't know, dude. You think about the most recent Super Bowl halftime performances. It's sure you had the one with like 50 Cent and Eminem. I think Dre too, right?
Yes.
But Snoop. But then
Mary J. Blige, where you at on that one?
Like last year, no, none of that. Last year was Rihanna. Crap.
I mean, I think you have a minority opinion there in more ways than one for that one.
Sure, but there's not a single part of me that would ever willingly tune in to watch Rihanna or to watch Usher. Ever.
Yeah, no. Like I would never. I don't care about I don't go to concerts really anyway. I don't really care about music in that regard.
The best.
So yes, I agree. But no, Rihanna was good.
Sure. I watched like half of it and walked upstairs to take a piss. Didn't come back down.
Yeah, it's not for you, man. Sorry they didn't have Slipknot play Super Bowl halftime.
I don't like Slipknot. Lamb of God would be sick though. I told you already. I don't like halftime shows.
That whole stadium, they'd be like, oh, you gotta get out of here for 15 minutes. What the hell is this?
I don't like halftime shows because they play 30 seconds of a song. Dude, for a good second,
we went over this. That's the best part of it.
I really thought that dude behind the mask was Kanye. Now, I know they would never invite Kanye on stage, or even within a mile of the stadium. But
no.
I'm like, well, you've got this goofy, freakish mask on. You have the same build. Kind of.
I was the only one in my house that knew who it was.
I knew it wasn't him, is what I'm saying. But there was a moment where I'm like, man, who was it? Will.i.am?
Yes, it was William.
Yeah, I would never have known that in a million years. I have to. Was like I knew it was Lil Jon.
Like you don't even that's why that performance isn't for you, because his name's not Little John.
This
isn't Robin Hood.
I just corrected myself. I said Lil Jon.
Yes. You should know, because he was the best part of it.
Also, oh God, how embarrassing for me to, as a grown man, to accidentally not refer to someone by their correct name, Lil Jon. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Very ridiculous. I mean, he is like a cultural icon for us at this point.
Sure, man. I thought Reba's national anthem was lacking. I thought it underwhelmed.
I certainly didn't listen to it.
Really?
No.
Dude, the
I didn't
national
listen to
anthem.
last year's. Who everybody jerked off to that one, right?
I'm still jerking off to that one. Chris
Yeah.
Stapleton's performance last year was Whitney Houston, 1991,
I mean
and
that
Chris.
nothing can top that.
To me, Chris Stapleton's did because big fan of the guitar. I thought
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Stapleton absolutely killed it, but that and Whitney Houston, you can't beat that. And I thought Reba's was a little bit underwhelming. I
I
actually
didn't.
thought Post
I'm not a big
Malone.
America guy, so
Yeah, dude, you better get. When I saw Chris Jones crying, I thought, yeah, man, yeah, hell yeah, loving it. Post Malone, hell of a performance as well. I've
didn't
come
watch
I've
it.
come a long way in respecting him.
Didn't watch it.
Whatever.
No, I'm in
Anyway,
for. I want to hear Usher talk about cheating on his wife and impregnating other people. I don't need songs about the birthplace of America.
did you enjoy when he took his shirt off?
I mean, as much as every other man probably did. Yeah.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah, I,
Fair
I
enough.
I watched Ursher. I did not pay close attention to Reba or Post.
I would expect nothing less of you, my friend.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
happy to
watched the
have you.
real entertainment. I don't ever sit down thinking like, you know what I really need in my life while I'm in the middle of my living room? The national anthem.
Yeah, I need more shirtless Usher.
Yeah.
I need him to strip off this freakish clothing.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Look, you're not telling me anything I didn't already know about you.
I don't think I'm in the minority with this opinion.
Well, that's even more concerning.
It's Usher, man. You know what you're going to get out of him.
Nothing I want to watch.
That's your own fault.
Sure. Anyway, you over here be like, no, Rihanna was great.
I'm not
Anyway,
saying that I cared about Rihanna's performance, but it was undoubtedly well received.
yeah, whatever. All right. Happy to
I'm not a
have you
big
guys.
Rihanna guy, so I'm mildly in agreement with you, but I don't agree in that like her shit was good.
Sure. I'm just saying, like you said as well, not for me. Not for me. Halftime's for the ladies. And I
Yeah.
mean, apparently you as well. But
Well, that's a blurry line from time to time.
glad you guys could join us. Hit that thumbs up if you're just walking in the door here. It goes a long way. So atone for your sins on a Monday morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 100K. It's greatly appreciated. I mean that. It goes a long way for us. And if you're listening or watching after the fact, leave a comment down below. We read and respond to all of them. And last thing, you already know it, but if you still want to or haven't listened in podcast form, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever, we've got you covered. All of our shows with any bit of a shelf life go straight on to the podcast platforms. If you didn't want to listen on YouTube, we got you there. 9-game slate today, Josh. Cutting
Yeah.
off, I think, 2 10 o'clock games. Right? I think we've taken 2 10 o'clock games off.
I think there's just one.
Is it just one?
There's just one. Yeah, in fact, I'm positive that there's
That's
just
fine.
one.
Yeah. I know the last start time for the main slate is 9 o'clock. So also, DraftKings with a little bit of micro millions, the $4 150 max as well. So they got
Yes, I will be not playing that contest. So taking it off. It's horrid.
119,000 entrants.
Yeah, horrific. I want no part of it. Thank you for giving me a night off, DraftKings, by ruining Monday.
100K up top. So there's that.
True garbage.
Trying to see if they have any of the
They don't have the real fadeaway, so they ruined today.
Why don't they just make like a 4-point play that's 150 max, but doesn't have to be. What I don't understand is like why wouldn't they just make a 4-point play? Doesn't have to be 100K up top, but like allow you to 150 max. They were doing that for a while last year, and then they stopped.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish they did. I'm irritated. I wanted to play tonight. It's just like I don't need the 150,000 or 115,000 entry lottery tickets tonight, and then stay up and late swapping a 9-game slate.
Yeah, 119,000, 400,000.
They lost me. They lost me.
Anyway, we got 9 games, so let's dive into them.
Let's do it.
First up, Philly, Cleveland, Sixers 9.5-point dogs at Cleveland, 229 total. Melton's still out. Batum's out. Mo Bamba's questionable. Obviously, Joel Embiid's out for this game as well. Not a particularly great matchup for the 76ers here. We've had some spots where we could key in on Tyrese Maxey. Buddy Hield just out of the gate getting a lot of work. Who knows how much of a difference that's going to make over the long haul as long as Joel Embiid's out. But, I mean, Hield's played what did he play? 40 and 36 minutes and on 2 back-to-backs. So clearly, like, he's going to come out there and he's going to chuck. There's no denying that. The price isn't that bad. He's actually not looked terrible from a playmaking standpoint either, because they don't have any legitimate facilitators. Even Pat Bev's gone after the trade deadline. But overall, in this specific matchup, my sub 230 total, the Sixers aren't going to look all that good. But I do want to ask you about Buddy Hield, just given the volume and the huge minutes we've seen, and really him coming in to fill a void that was huge once Joel Embiid, already a void that they needed, that they had, just 3-point shooting in general, right? But now you have Joel Embiid out. Outside of Maxey, you have Harris. There's nobody really that can get like red hot outside of Maxey.
No, and this is a horrific spot too. Number 2 defense against Cleveland. They're 25th in pace. All of these guys sort of already have the price points that you would expect them to have. Highest owned dude, 4% to Buddy Hield. Highest optimal dude, 7% to Buddy Hield. I didn't get a single share of Philadelphia to start, so I don't really have too much that I want to say here about the Sixers, because I just don't think they look very good.
What about on the other side with Cleveland? And by the way, for those of you guys wondering, we have 2 7 o'clock games, 2 7:30s, 2 8 o'clock game, no, 3 8 o'clocks, an 8:30 and a 9. So it's pretty spaced out. There's no like flat block of 5 games or 4 games that starts at the same time. This is one of the couple 7 o'clock starts. But when you look at the Cleveland side, if there's one thing we could say is that Philly's defense without Joel Embiid is just objectively bad.
Yeah, I guess they're a little bit worse when they don't have him. I'm surprised to see that happen.
A little bit worse. And we've seen them just coughing up monster totals, big fantasy totals. But on the other side, Cleveland's fully healthy for them. Like they're healthy. So that makes it more difficult to get to these guys, where Jared Allen's still north of 7K. Donovan Mitchell's 9,900. Are there any spots worth getting to from a tournament perspective? Does the boom bust tool tell us anything here that we could get to where there's some leverage?
Not really. It's obviously a little bit better of a matchup when you don't have Embiid around, but at the same time, we're not really seeing it come out in the data. 7% ownership to Jared Allen, 6% optimal. That's the highest optimal and ownership rates for Cleveland right now. I think Mitchell and Allen are really the only 2 guys that you could look at, but if these guys are at full strength, having Garland back, having Mobley back, Philly, Cleveland is sort of one of the easiest games to just look at and get away from. 14% aggregate ownership for Cleveland, 9 for Philadelphia. Only one team is lower than Philly. That would be the Knicks. And Cleveland is basically tied for the next spot behind those guys with Atlanta. This is it's the worst game on the slate for today. I really just don't have anything else that I want to add for it.
It's bad. By the way, S&P said Lofty wants them to replay the Tom Petty halftime show every year. I was never a huge Tom Petty guy, but I thought that was a pretty sweet halftime show, not going to lie.
Don't know it. Don't even know when it happened.
What about Prince?
Don't remember it. I don't remember any of these things.
The Prince one was sick because it was like raining hard, and there's all the electronics.
No recollection of that whatsoever.
And he's like, "No, I'm going out there."
The only one that I remember is like NSYNC and Britney Spears and Aerosmith and Run DMC. That's it. That's the only one I remember.
Remember the Black Eyed Peas? That was trash.
Don't remember it.
You probably loved that one.
Don't remember it at all. I don't remember any of these. Like I remember brief bits of the Eminem, Snoop, Dre one. Like I could picture what it looked like on this, like what their stage looked like. Other than that, I can't remember anything. I know The Weeknd was ass. That was horrific.
Yeah, that was horrible. Also, kind of like I wouldn't have liked it anyway, but that was tough because it was the COVID year. It probably would have been tough for anybody to do that, but it was not very good. All right, so let's forget about that. Let's also quickly put this Philly-Cleveland game in the rear view because there's just not a lot there. Indy is an 11-point road favorite. Just let that sink in for a sec. 11-point road favorite today against the Charlotte Hornets. Jalen Smith is out. Tyrese Halliburton's questionable. I mean, for now, I think we just have to assume that he's going to play. But he did get his minutes have crept back up. He played 30 minutes last time out, Josh. So that's, a big uptick from the 22 minutes, 20 minutes he was seeing in those 4 games since returning from that like maintenance absence or whatever you want to call it. But so 30 minutes there is interesting, especially given that he's $8,600 going up against the Charlotte Hornets. I know he's only getting 8%. Miles Turner clearly pulling the most ownership here. Andrew Nembhard getting around 16%. But I do kind of, and I know it's a 9-game slate, so we're going to have a lot of options at these positions. But I do want to talk about Halliburton for a second, because we've seen the minutes go from 22, 3 games in a row, to 20. One of those was a blowout against the same Charlotte team, which is always a legitimate concern. 29 in a close game, 26 in a blowout, and then 30 in that last game against the Knicks. I mean, what's reasonable here? It seems like he might just be back 32 minutes if it's a competitive game and you're getting him at 8,600, where a guy that is, one of the better per minute producers in all of fantasy.
So I only went to 29 minutes here for Halliburton. The price is certainly appealing. The matchup is certainly appealing. We like it a little bit more than I do. We went 3 more minutes for Halliburton. I don't see that in this spot. Because if we've got 32, that implies like 34, 35 is on the table. And I don't think that that's the case for him at this point. I just don't think they're going to do that, especially here in this matchup against Charlotte. Like, the more likely scenario to me is that he is still relatively limited enough that you don't get that ultra ceiling potential for Halliburton. Clearly, he could just destroy Charlotte. That shouldn't be all that difficult. But I'm not all that enamored in getting to Halliburton. I think the Nembhard one makes the most sense. 17% owned, 19% optimal. I have 16% right now. It's just 4,300 now with nobody healed around. It's just a bit more appealing. The guy that I have the most of is just not, he doesn't exist in our boom bust tool the way that I have him. And I don't expect it to hold for me this way, but give me all of the Isaiah Jackson, who showed up in 90% of my first run. We have him at 6% ownership, 6% optimal. We gave him 14.5 minutes. I went a little bit heavier. The reason that I'm looking at Isaiah Jackson for today, 3,500. He is the direct backup to Miles Turner. I'm probably a little heavy on his minutes, but we have no Jalen Smith. We got 17 minutes out of Isaiah Jackson last time out. I think he's going to largely play every minute that Miles Turner isn't on the floor. That doesn't seem like a big take. Like, they split the 48 center minutes on the 10th. I didn't go to a massive number on Miles Turner. I went to 28. We have 28. I gave 18 minutes to Isaiah Jackson, so I didn't even give him the full backup run. He's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy in this spot. If he plays 18 minutes, I think that's a pretty good rate. You're probably looking at, like, if you can get him to 30 fantasy points, that's the value you're sort of looking for. And he's just, one extra foul to Turner away from grabbing a couple extra minutes. The fact that he's not getting any ownership is really wild to me.
Yeah, it kind of is. What's he priced at right now?
3,500.
3,500. Yeah. Against, by the way, a Charlotte team that just is incapable of slowing down bigs.
Yeah.
That's a good spot.
Yeah.
Man,
the fact that they split the 48 minutes last time out is what really has, I have my eye on that.
For sure. I tell you, man, I can't stop coming back to Halliburton just because.
I get it.
This is like a top 10 fantasy point per minute guy in the league.
Yeah.
Against Charlotte. $8,600.
I just don't trust the minutes.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying a 30 could be a 60 spot. 30 minutes could be a 60 spot here for sure.
For sure. He's awesome.
Yeah. We have him positively leveraged too. And like you said, I know we're giving him a few more minutes. The fact that he played 30 last game, to me, if this is close, I don't see why he wouldn't get there again. We can't say it's necessary. We can't.
So I feel pretty good at 29. You could talk me into 30. I couldn't go higher than that.
I get it. And look, you can't say it's going to be close, but you can't say it's going to be a blowout either, just because it's an 11-point spread. Like, you just can't.
Look, Since he's been back, the most he's played is 30.3 minutes. Like, obviously, you expect it to continue to go up, but I can't go north of that number yet. We haven't seen it, and I don't expect them to just tear off the shackles in a matchup against the Hornets.
I get it. I just think I think there was a slight tearing off of the shackles when you go from 22 minutes to 29, 26 in a blowout, and then 30. So we'll see. But we have 5.9% leverage or 5.9 leverage right now. So yeah, I guess we'll see what ownership comes in on too. But like you said, this is the thing about basketball is it's going to be entirely dependent on how many minutes you give him too. If you're giving him 31 minutes, Halliburton's going to look a whole lot better, even in 2 minutes.
Yes. Very, very, very good in that time.
Anybody else for Indy, or you want to talk Charlotte here?
I mean, I like Miles Turner. He's projected for 29% ownership, 20% optimal. He's the most optimal play from Indy with no Jalen Smith. Like, I gave him an extra minute. We've got him in at 28. He's only 6,100. He's a 1.1 to 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy in this matchup. I think the two centers are the best things you can get to from the Pacers.
So the Charlotte Hornets, you and I say this often from the other side of this one. The Pacers generally make for a great matchup because defensively they're not very good. Offensively, they're very good. That may mean nothing with Charlotte because this team is just terrible. And then
they're a different team now. They've got like 5 new dudes. They got rid of they've got rid of like 6 through 10 from their team.
I mean, I wouldn't even say 6. I think you could, well, of the guys who are active, PJ Washington as a scorer, as a first man off the bench. I mean, he was the only reason they didn't lose by 80 in some of these games.
Yeah. Now he could be the reason that Dallas loses. Sorry, I shit all over that trade.
That's fine. I'm just saying the guy can score.
Yeah. He can shoot.
Yeah, well, compared to who's replacing it right now.
Quite true.
That's all. Like, it's all relative, right?
Yes, it is.
And this team, Trey Mann, we have as the high Trey Mann. Yeah. We have at 24%. We have Grant Williams.
Yeah.
At 16%. Yeah. Like, the Grant Williams experiment failed in Dallas, and now he's pulling 16% today because LaMelo Ball's still out. Williams is still out. Gordon Hayward's gone, but that wouldn't have made a difference because he hadn't been playing anyway. No. Like, Nick Richards is getting 8%. Bridges is still there. I'm sure he's stoked about that.
Yes.
6% ownership. Martin's probable. He's getting 5%. Brandon Miller's getting less than 1% ownership.
7,300.
He's expensive.
Yeah. They got too many real players now. That's sort of the problem for Brandon Miller and for Miles Bridges. Their points props were way lower for today than what I had in for their like locked in usage, what we had before. Because when you add Trey Mann, you're like, I don't want to overreact to what Trey Mann is, but you're adding like a legitimate enough ball handler to pop into the point guard spot that isn't ish. So ball is out of Brandon Miller's hands a little bit more. Micic, same sort of deal as backup point guard. Like, you're getting a little bit better of an outlook at the point guard spot. Seth Curry can come in, get some looks. Grant Williams doesn't really have much to do with the usage department here, but it looks like these changes, bringing in more real NBA players, is limiting the full upside of the Brandon Millers and Miles Bridges of the world for today.
So how many of these guys, all of them played following the deadline already, right? Man,
yeah.
Curry,
yep, they all played.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I guess the thing here, I'm looking at the starting lineup from last game.
Yeah.
Martin, Richards, Mann, Miller, Bridges.
Yep. Yeah, I think the Trey Mann ownership is totally real. I've got 32%. We've got him at 22. He's 4,600. He's like a 0.95 fantasy point per minute guy. And if you're doing that and giving him the starting run, like, I only went to 27 minutes. We went 29, and I'm coming in over that ownership mark. And I guess I probably have some wiggle room to give him additional playing time. I'm happy to, like, this is a great spot for Charlotte against Indy. They get the pace up spot. They get the bad defense. So I want a little bit of Miles Bridges. I want a little bit of Nick Richards. I think Nick Richards looks really good on FanDuel at 6K. The only guy that I'm not getting to that is getting the love is Grant Williams, 4,300 power forward center. I like him for sure. I understand why he's getting a little bit of love, but 17% ownership feels a little high to me. I actually have 0 in this moment.
Interesting. Truly putrid per minute player, but a lot of that too, playing in Dallas isn't going to help you much. Like,
no,
you're just never going to touch the basketball.
Just open 3 after open 3.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand the ownership playing 32 minutes last game.
Yeah. And I'm probably pessimistic here. I started the day with 28 minutes for Grant Williams. We have 29 and a half. Like, I could easily give him another 2 minutes and make him look a little bit better and show up in my stuff. But I don't see him as that kind of priority for today.
Just one more guy I want to ask you about, because the usage has been pretty considerable. The minutes are massive. Like, if it's close, he's playing 38 to 40. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Miles
he's got
Bridges,
a real position now, finally.
What's that?
He's been power forward center for a while. Now he's small forward, power forward. Yep. So he's like more functional. I just think he's a little overpriced now that they've got a couple more guys in comparison to what they were running out. Like, it really is different when you can when you have all these new guys in, instead of playing Nick Smith, Bryce McGowan's, Leaky Black, Nathan Mensah, JT Thor. I mean, everybody that I just named in the game before all those new guys came in, they played 121 minutes. All 5 of those dudes were out of the rotation the next game. So I think it's just bringing Bridges down a little bit. And now that his salary rose by playing with all of those jerk-offs, now he's not as interesting. I have 8%.
Okay. Let's move on then. Still one of those weird games where there's like a lot of, it's a great atmosphere, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Charlotte coming off the trade, Halliburton having his minutes kind of in flux still a little bit. No Jalen Smith, but still a 239 total and 2 defenses that don't play particularly well. So
yeah, there's something here.
Like, this is one of those games where if somebody had Bridges or Halliburton or some of those in a tournament that won today and binked everything, you wouldn't look at it and go, man, how did that happen?
No, not at all. Before we go on, just because I saw this tweet pop up, has nothing to do with NBA. How awful was Greenlaw's injury?
I actually didn't see. I saw him laying on the ground. I didn't go back and watch the injury. Not because I wouldn't.
Oh no, like, you don't see it. He's just, he's about to run onto the field, takes one step and just collapses, because I assume he blew out his. I mean, they said Achilles injury.
Was he running onto the field?
Yeah, he was like just coming on. He was going to come onto the field for the next.
So it
play.
wasn't even live.
He was on the sideline, getting ready to go, geared up. First step he takes, just collapses. Done.
That's horrible.
Rough, dude. Rough.
You know what?
The moment I saw it, I was like, oh, he blew something.
Remember when Ryan Howard did that in the NLDS against the St. Louis Cardinals? It ruined his career.
I remember it way differently than you do.
Well, either way, he grounded out to end the game and end their season and essentially end his career. All he did was take one step and blew his Achilles out.
And he still had like 4 years and 140 million left.
Yeah, that ended up
that extension hadn't even kicked in yet.
Yeah, that ended up getting real bad. But you see those Achilles injuries all the time. It's crazy. I still remember seeing Durant's, and it happened to Cousins, where you could watch it slink back up their calf muscle.
Yeah. Shout out Ryan Howard for banging my buddy's girl in college.
Did he?
Yeah. He came to Kutztown.
Nice.
So funny. Oh, I'll remember that forever.
You like that GIF I sent you last night?
I did.
Chicago and Atlanta, 237 totals. Chicago 4-point dogs on the road. Alex Caruso's questionable here.
Oh. So I scrolled up past your GIF to the picture of those 2 fine ladies that I showed you, where one was getting a bath.
I didn't know who that was. Yeah. That's something else.
It is. It's a lot of body.
At first I was like, is that like one of these just massive juiced up bodybuilders on a bulk? And no, it wasn't.
Well, she's on a bulk.
Josh was sending me still shots of the 1,000-pound sisters on TLC the other day.
Yeah. Shit,
watching
they
highlights.
were hosing the one off.
Yeah. There was a
I
one.
can't imagine what kind of grime they find in the folds, man.
Not good.
No,
DeRozan,
the
Kobe White.
smell must be
Oh, it's putrid.
really, really horrific.
Putrid. Yeah, it would be tough. I'd be double masking.
Wow,
The
I didn't
only
even think we can get you to put one on.
No, that's the only time you'd ever catch me double masking. Uh, DeRozan, White, Vooch, Caruso, all of these guys actually pulling some ownership. You got four guys double digits right now
Yeah.
against this Atlanta team. I just mentioned it, but 237 total here. So against the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta, this is again one of these teams, no matter who's in or out, like they always find a way to have three guys that are essentially the exact same price point. Whether Levine's in or out, doesn't matter. DeRozan, White, and Vooch are separated by $400.
I'm going to start with White and DeRozan because I think they're the easiest two to talk about. I like them the most. They're both around 20% owned. I have right around 30 of both of them. Like basically same price, same positionality. Only one's a guard, one's a forward, but you have the MPE on both guys. We have White pretty negatively leveraged. We have DeRozan pretty negatively leveraged. For the most part, I understand that, but this matchup against Atlanta is pretty damn tasty. So I like those two guys. We also have some negative leverage on Vooch, 11% optimal, 17% owned. I don't have any, and I gave him 37 minutes. He doesn't project poorly, 1.1 something fantasy points per minute. It's the next piece that we have to talk about. I don't know what they're going to do with Andre Drummond. We went 24 minutes. We have 20% optimal, 5% ownership. Now we know that's impossible to make it to lock like that. Either the ownership comes up or the optimal rate comes down. We're not going to have that sort of gap. But I don't really know what they're going to do with him playing alongside Drummond. They're certainly doing it. They played like 7 or 8 minutes alongside of each other last time out. They started alongside of each other 3 games ago. They played alongside of each other in the game before that. If you can get Drummond to 24 minutes at, 1.2, call it 1.25 if you just want to be pessimistic. That's 30 fantasy points at 5,900. He becomes a guy that you can get to somewhere in that 5-10% ownership range for sure, probably around 10% ownership. That said, they don't have to continue to play Drummond alongside of him. I think Drummond can play 18 minutes today. He could play 30, and I'd believe just about anything. I'm probably a little light on his minutes. I could probably get up to that like 22 range, but they are live to play them more alongside of each other. I don't like that. I don't like the two of them alongside of each other against Atlanta. That seems problematic. I don't know what the gain would be there. But we got to keep our eye on Drummond at least a little bit.
When this happened the other week, I think it was last Tuesday, when Drummond was named the starter against the Timberwolves.
It was the 6th, so whatever day that would have been.
Sure.
Yeah, it would have been Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. How did you approach that from a late swap perspective? Because like we have the late swap tool in the Sims, which is massively, massively helpful. There are situations though where you're going to get boxed out in a way where it was like, if you were making that swap to Drummond, you might have only had one move to make, and it would have been like Drummond over Rudy Gobert, except the price difference would have been significant. How do you handle a swap like that in a situation where a lot of those games have already locked on a short slate? That was a tough one for me.
Yeah, I only got to I definitely got above the field, but I didn't have a lot of room left to really get to him. I think I got like 15-20% somewhere in that neighborhood. I'd have to check.
Yeah, same. And that's what I'm saying.
I wanted to get to as much because the moment he's starting, you're giving him 28 minutes. And that first game, he looked amazing because the price wasn't there yet. You do whatever you can to get as much as you can.
It was just one of those weird ones though, because like the only way you had center or utility open was, I think, basically if you had like the Minnesota bigs.
That sounds right. My memory is such, like, all these slates start running together for me.
For sure. I just remember that because I remember like late swapping wasn't as easy as just swapping 3 guys and being able to upgrade elsewhere and then get the savings on Drummond. You know what I mean? So it was a really weird slate as far as swapping.
I had 18%. He ended up being 7.5.
Is that all he was?
Yeah. That's how, it was just really hard. You had Hartenstein at 30% ownership. Şengün was at 30% ownership. You know, Precious obviously could have been in the center spot. He was 47% owned. Gobert pulled some decent ownership. Turner pulled some decent ownership. We were just sort of blocked out at that point. And then you were already locked into value of Amin Thompson being 80% owned. So like you get to a point where sometimes you can't, there's so much salary left that like you're not even really optimizing when you make that swap to Drummond because you don't have anything else to pay up for on the opposite side.
Yep. Yeah, you were already blocked out of most games that locked, but then past that, it was like if you're going Drummond, that means you're saying give me Drummond over these other like 7K, 8K bigs.
Yeah. And then at that point in time, when salary stops mattering, like they just start all looking the same then. It doesn't matter if you're spending 5K or 8K. You don't have anything else to do with it.
What are you doing on the other side of this game with the Atlanta Hawks?
Very little. Ownership looks about right here. 7% ownership to DeJounte Murray, 7% optimal to DeJounte Murray, who is now still in Atlanta. Those are the two highest numbers for the Hawks. I have a little bit of Bogdan Bogdanovic and a little bit of Jalen Johnson, both, you know, no more than 6% for either guy. I don't really think that much looks good here. Chicago is the slowest team in the league. This is not a really good matchup. I think if you get to Trey, Jalen Johnson, Murray, or Bogdanovic in a lineup, that's all totally fine. I was a little surprised, like the total here looks all right, but now that like Capella's been out for a couple games, everybody's been back and stabilized. So like these prices are just sort of where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. And then even if Bruno Fernando's out, he was out last game, right? And it didn't really do anything huge to Okongwu's minutes.
No, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference either way. No.
San Antonio is a 6-point dog against Toronto on the road, 235 total. The interesting thing here is that we have some pending injury news across a lot of these games. Some guys already out. There's really nothing to speak of from an injury perspective here. San Antonio looks pretty healthy. You've got Devin Vassell getting 16% ownership. Wembanyama at 15% at 8,900. Outside of that, it kind of falls off a cliff. Sohan, Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson around like 5% ownership. But it's not the worst spot. It might have been you that mentioned this to me the other day, and you're right. When you look at Toronto's roster, they should have at least been playing better than they were. You know, they were getting smoked. They were giving up 130 points per game, but they should have, like, I'm not saying this is a contender. Obviously they aren't, but they aren't a team that should have been playing at Charlotte Hornets level. And we saw them semi get back on track against the Hornets. They got a win over Houston. They got beat up against Cleveland a couple days ago, but it doesn't make for the worst matchup right now. How are you approaching the Spurs?
Basically the same way the field is. You mentioned Vassell and Wemby both around 16% ownership. I have 14 of Devin Vassell. I have 12 of Victor Wembanyama. So like right at the field, basically the same amount of Sohan. I've got 10%. He's 6% owned. They look fine, but you know, like Toronto doesn't exactly play super fast. It's just sort of a game. Like it's just filler guys. I think Vassell looks the best. I think Wemby is clearly the guy that you have the most fun rostering. We have Vassell with some pretty significant negative leverage, and I don't think that's all that crazy in this spot. There's no priorities. It's just you're okay with working one of those guys in. Vassell's like a fantasy point per minute guy. Wemby's obviously in that like 1.65 range, somewhere in that neighborhood, 1.68 over the past 30 days. And like same for Sohan, you know, in that 0.9, 0.95 range. Just a lot of okay options for San Antonio.
On the other side, though, with Toronto, and like I said, there's some games that we're definitely going to spend more time on than others. With Toronto, we have Scotty Barnes, 8,500, 13%. Yeah, I mean, and if you look on a 9-gamer, you look at the point guard position because he's got the point guard small forward. You have, we mentioned Halliburton at, what's he at? 8,600. Barnes at 85. We'll talk about Lillard later, but Lillard at 8,700. Chris Middleton's still out. Maxey at 93. That feels pretty impossible to get to. There are some guys in this range. Where do you put Scotty Barnes as far as priorities go?
Kind of like a non-priority, I guess, but like a guy to get to. He just looks a lot like everything else that's around him. Like relative to salary, you've got Wemby at And these guys are obviously in slightly different areas, but you've got Wemby getting 15% ownership, Kyrie getting 10, Barnes getting 15, Triple J getting 10, a little bit less on Markkanen, who I think looks like the interesting GPP play. I'm just neutral to Scotty Barnes. I like the guard forward eligibility. He's been solid enough lately, 1.15 fantasy points per minute. The matchup is obviously fantastic. We're showing Barnes, basically properly owned at 14% ownership. I have 16. Like, that feels good. I like some other things here. I am oddly heavy on Emmanuel Quickly basically all the time right now.
Me too, and it generally never works for me.
Yeah, I have 36% of him right now at 8% ownership. I know that I'm 2 points above his points prop, but there's nothing that I can do to move rates that makes me think that that's the wrong thing for today. So I got a bit of a lean on Quickly. And then I'm actually getting a little bit of Gary Trent. I think that's just a function of today's slate and a little bit of this matchup. He's 8% owned. I have 22%. Point guard, shooting guard, 4,200. Like, as a value-ish option for today in a matchup against San Antonio, I don't really hate that too much. We have him pretty significantly negatively leveraged. So those are the three things that I'm getting to. Barnes, Quickly as my probably favorite GPP play, and then Trent not too far behind as a value GPP play.
You know what I'm trying to figure out when it comes to Quickly is just is this somebody that we can rely upon for facilitating or not? Like, he had a stretch there with double-digit assists in 3 or 4 games, and then it's kind of just fallen off a cliff. This is the type of guy that you would expect more from in that category. You would think that he'd be consistently giving you more assists, because he's not going to put up monster rebounds. He's also the type of guy that if he's not shooting well, it's just a wrap to begin with. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, what should we be expecting for Emmanuel Quickly on the Toronto Raptors as a facilitator? Because if those assists start creeping back up, then at 6,900, you're looking at a really solid play.
Yeah, I mean, his assist prop for today is 6.5. Now, it's got heavy juice to the under. I got him at 5.8. So I don't feel like I'm off by any sort of real amount. I think he's going to fall in that, 25-ish% assist rate. That all seems like it's a little bit above, 23% usage, 27% assist rate, 6,900 in a matchup against the Spurs. That looks good to me for sub 10% ownership.
You would think so. 6.5, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad.
No.
8 potential assists per game over the last 4, where he's, not shown all that much. But if you go back to the 20th, you go back to the 20th of January, right? Just looking at potential assists here, because Scotty Barnes clearly is going to lead in this category no matter what. But Emmanuel Quickly, potential assists, 10.5. So, yeah, I mean, he definitely ran hot. I'll say this much.
Yeah.
He was running hot on those games where he had 10, 11 assists, but neck and neck with Scotty Barnes, 11.7.
Yeah.
I'd probably still bet the under 6.5 assists, though, if we're being honest.
Well, not with that juice, though. I mean, it's minus 150, minus 156.
Can't do that. I didn't hear you say that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm good on that. I'm good.
But I feel pretty good about being at 5.8.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to bet the over even at plus money, but I don't love the under there either.
No.
Anybody else for Toronto?
I got a little bit of RJ Barrett. He's obviously totally fine to get to. I'm looking at Quickly now to see if there's anything out there on his assist prop. Do we have anything on Odd Shopper? His is under 5.5 is plus 120 at Bet Rivers. That's the best line we have on Quickly's assists.
Is it a plus EV bet?
Yeah. Yeah. 4%.
I like it.
You can get under 5.5 plus 120 there or at Sugar House.
Okay.
Or at,
That's
I don't know what the hell that is.
Is it
What's
green?
the U?
Unibet.
Okay.
So all 3 of them are the same provider, so you're going to get the same odds on those 3.
There you go.
Yeah. You said Sugar House, Bet Rivers, and Uni, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they're all.
I'll learn this in 30 days.
Yes, you will. Yeah, you will.
I would have liked to get shit down for the fuck Super Bowl last night. That would have been fun if they got that out of the gate a month early.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, March Madness, right? You should have some March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be hitting up Odd Shopper for that. I don't have the same knowledge base for
No.
college basketball that I would. Not that I have a knowledge base for the NFL, but like I am way more in tune to the NFL than I am to college basketball.
Talk about the Pels in Memphis. And by the way, guys, like this is one of these spots, even without the 10 o'clock games, you're still going to need to be on patrol when it comes to late swapping. There's just no doubt about that. With a 9 p.m., some 8:30s today. You see our CEO Tom Kennedy with the little win coming in hot the other day. Little 50K action there.
Was that Saturday night, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I opted out of playing. He's lucky.
Well, he tweeted it too. He said, and yeah, the lineups were built and swapped with the stochastic Sims tool. So, you're just using the late swap tool, which takes you like 2 minutes to do. It's that
late
simple.
Swap. Who knew?
Who knew how valuable that could be? Huge day for Tom, though. If you haven't checked it out yet, guys, by the way, Sims tool, link in the description and in chat. You want to try a week? You want to try a month? No matter how you want to play it. Also, not only that, but you can do one sport or all sports. And if you decide to do all access, which isn't just getting you the contest generator, the Sims, the late swap tool, the post-contest simulator, which is massively, massively valuable, but also, the ownership projections, player projections, boom bust tool for all of these sports. Like everything's included. Our premium Discord is in there as well. Jump in and say hi. But if you want to do a week, you want to do a month, make that happen. Not only that, if you went all access and you just use the stochastic avatar, you're getting a huge discount, huge monthly discount in perpetuity, meaning every single month. It doesn't go away. It's not like, oh, your first month is discount. No, every month is discounted that you have. So a lot of different ways to play this, man. If you ever wanted to check it out. We had another one too, Josh, and I love seeing this stuff. So the professor on Twitter hit us up yesterday. There's a million of these, but I'm only using 2. The Sims tool is legit. Simple as that. Comes in $4,000 NBA action, third place over in the NBA shot. It was 20K up top, finishes third place for 4K. And, look, we've seen this with the mini max. We've seen it with the big contest. We've seen it with the 4-point play. It doesn't matter what contest you're playing. It works, man.
It's a great tool. I used it to start this show off. It's so easy to use that I think that's like the real selling point to me is that it's all just there for you. You load it up, you figure out what contest you're in, you click the button, all of a sudden you're running your lineups. You make your tweaks if you want to, set some exposure caps if you want to, set some boosts if you want to, because you can better dial in what you want with these Sims tools in comparison to what you saw with like a standard issue optimizer. Not to undersell an optimizer, it was a great era of DFS, but now you could look at something like you, for example, today would be a perfect like way to describe this. Let's say you run your Sims and you go through everything and you look at it and you have 0% Tyrese Halliburton and you're like, yeah, I kind of want Halliburton today. So I'm going to give him this boost, but it doesn't mean that you're going to you're not playing optimally by doing that. What you're doing is just sort of getting yourself to the best possible Tyrese Halliburton lineups that
are
exist.
Already made.
Yeah, and they're going to be positive ROI in this example. They're going to be positive. You can find positive ROI lineups with Tyrese Halliburton. You can craft some individual exposures that don't really change what's happening for you in your grand scheme of your lineups. And all it takes is clicking ROI boost on Tyrese Halliburton until his lineups get to wherever you want to be. But they'll be when you get them into your top whatever you're playing, you're getting the best version of whatever Tyrese Halliburton lineups exist.
It's a good example. Yeah. Because those lineups are already there from the contest. They've already been simmed tens of thousands of times. And this is just saying, all right, here are the best Tyrese Halliburton lineups that you can play today. It's not remaking lineups for you with Tyrese Halliburton projected for more fantasy points. Yeah.
No, exactly. They're already there.
And we just added a new feature too. You can set exposure caps too. If you ever didn't want like 100% of a guy in a 20 max. So check it out. Link down below in the description and in chat. We have all the tutorials you need. So you're not going in blind. And if you ever have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. My DMs are open. I know Greg's always
Mine are closed.
I know Greg is always happy to answer those questions as well. All right, New Orleans and Memphis.
You want to ask me those questions? Sign up at Stochastic for the Sims tool and get into Discord. Otherwise, I don't do that free nonsense.
I don't mind doing it. No, Zion, he's questionable. I assume he plays. Look, it's a really good, it's a good spot against a Memphis team that's barely belonging, hardly at all belonging in the NBA right now. But they're 9-point road favorites, 223 total. Do you want to hit both sides of this game? And I'll just come along for the ride on this one.
11% ownership to Zion is the only double-digit number. Brandon Ingram is less than 5. He's the second highest owned guy. 8% optimal Zion, 6% CJ, 4% BI. If Zion is in, you're going to one of those three main dudes and nothing else from the Pelicans. They are very, very underwhelming today.
What about Memphis?
If Zion is out, obviously that changes things quite a bit.
Memphis, Derrick Rose, Zaire Williams are both doubtful. So
all of this sucks.
Yeah.
Except for one piece. Okay, so we went heavy to Scottie Pippen. I didn't. I have 18 minutes. We have 25. Yeah, he's going to look like an exceptional. We have him 36% optimal, 13% owned. Where that'll hash itself out in some way later today. You know, like Lamar Stevens is now here for Memphis. Yuta Watanabe is now here for Memphis. I like Jaren Jackson. He's 10% owned. Pippen is interesting to me. I don't have a great feel of how much he's going to play if he plays. I don't expect him to start. So then we're talking about a 4K backup guard. I think that's all going to go away. The guy that I like the most, to me, is pretty obvious. It's Santi Aldama, 5,500, power forward center, somewhere in that like 0.95 fantasy point per minute range. You want to go up to a fantasy point. He's going to play 28, 29, 30 minutes, something in that neighborhood. We have him positively leveraged. He's 11% owned. I have 36. Getting him in that power forward spot, he's going to, I would assume, going to start at the power forward spot again. I think Santi Aldama is the easiest thing to get to from Memphis because of his price.
Okay. For Memphis, you have what? Oh, actually, we'll get to that in a second. Let's go to the Knicks. Let's talk about the Knicks here for a moment. So they're on the road against Houston, by the way, 221.5 total, lowest on the slate. Knicks are 4-point road favorites. So a couple of things here. One, we already know the Knicks play extraordinarily slow. Defensively, they've been top 10 this season. Houston defensively is top 10 as well. Houston plays at a league average pace around. I think they're actually 15th from what I'm looking at right now.
I have them 13th, so we're in the exact same range.
Yeah, same ballpark. The question I have more so for you, and we can get to Hartenstein, none of these guys are pulling ownership, and their price points have come up to reflect the minutes. Is there anything to be said, though, just for the fact that, like, you know, Precious Achiuwa, massive minutes, Brunson, huge minutes, DiVincenzo, huge minutes, Josh Hart, even really big. Like, these guys are getting a lot of minutes. I know there's Bogdanovich, and the team, the makeup of this team looks a little different than it did before. But if Hartenstein plays, is there really any way to confidently get to the Knicks?
No, I have 2% of Jalen Brunson, but he's 9,500 now. If Hartenstein is in, this is a team that you can't really get to. I actually wouldn't mind Hartenstein, but I don't trust his health right now. Now, if Hartenstein's out, then it starts to get a little squirrely. We could start squeezing value out of Alec Burks or Miles McBride or Jericho Sims. Or
if Sims plays, he's also questionable.
I think he's probable.
Is he? Okay. I thought last I looked, I thought he was questionable. Go ahead.
He is probable. And it's an illness.
Okay.
Too,
so Sims should play. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not an injury. It's an illness. So that's a little bit different. But even still, he's not like he's a great option. You get to the point where you can start having conversations about the Knicks if Hartenstein doesn't play, because that just really redistributes everything. Whether that's Boyan moving into a starting lineup or like Achiuwa at the 5, like they've got a couple options at that point. But if you're just going to bring Taj Gibson back in for 16 more minutes, like maybe nothing looks all that awesome anyway. It's really hard to want to get to the Knicks today.
Yeah, it's tough. The minutes are nice, but all those prices have normalized enough to where it's not going to look nearly as good.
Yeah.
Talking about the Houston side of this game too. So Fred VanVleet out. We already know that. I don't know when Eason's going to return. Şengün's questionable, but he missed last game, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. So he's questionable. We'll pay attention to that. Cam Whitmore's out as well. If we have Şengün in, is there anything that maybe you get some additional Aaron Holiday minutes with like, there's that.
Aaron Holiday is 6% owned. Alperen Şengün is 6% optimal. Those are the two highest numbers for Houston. I got one share of Jabari Smith, and that's it. Now, if Şengün is out, restart moving this stuff around again. And you're looking at, Jabari Smith playing a bit more. You're looking at Jeff Green at 4,300 power forward center. Everybody takes a little bit of a bump up. Dylan Brooks certainly looks a little bit better in that spot. Amin Thompson's already at 6,700. I think there's probably not too much you could squeeze out of him at this point. Jock Landale, maybe you start having a conversation about, or at least you could. He only played 13 minutes with him and Whitmore out last time out, so probably doesn't matter. I think you're just going to get 30 minutes out of Jeff Green, and you're going to try to call it a day.
Yeah, Amin Thompson's price point did not stay low for long.
No. And 30 minutes of Jeff Green at 4,300 is still like not a good play today.
Denver and Milwaukee, Nuggets 1-point favorite, 232 total. MPJ, KCP questionable. Chris Middleton's out. Brings me pleasure to see Doc Rivers come in there and just start losing games. You know why? He's just
I can take a guess.
Not even, he's just full of excuses. They never seen a head coach with such little accountability in my life. It's remarkable.
Why take accountability for something if everybody just keeps giving you millions and millions of dollars?
You're not wrong. Yeah, maybe that's
probably really hard to be accountable when they're like, hey, by the way, I need you to come in and save our season.
Yeah. And then he doesn't. And he's like, well, the altitude.
Yeah.
He blamed everything under the sun for their 1-4 start or whatever it was. Like, I don't know, man.
Which is all still probably just randomness anyway. Jokic looks all right. 11-5 center only. I don't have as much as we're projecting. I got a little bit of Jamal Murray, a little bit of Michael Porter Jr. It's a decent spot, but what we see with Denver is pretty just consistent. Like everybody's price is always the same. These guys basically never miss any time. It's the same starting five. It's the same rotation. They don't mix anything up. So if you want to get to Jokic, go ahead. If you want to get to a little Jamal Murray, go ahead. I have a hard time prioritizing anything here from the Denver Nuggets. And I feel the exact same way about the opposite side of this one for Milwaukee. Highest owned dude is Jay Crowder at 3.5. Highest optimal dude is Damian Lillard at 6.5. I got 8% of Jay Crowder, and I don't have a single share of anybody else from Milwaukee. I thought I would get to a little bit more Giannis today, but it doesn't appear that I'm getting to Giannis, and it doesn't appear that I'm getting to Nikola Jokic. There will be a pay-up option that we talk about later that I am getting to.
How much Jokic are you getting to? All right, Doncic are you getting to?
46%. Nope, sorry, 48%.
At home against the Washington Wizards, slate high 248 total.
Yeah. It all comes down to the first quarter for that one. That'll tell you everything that you need to know about whether or not you taking Luka Doncic ends up being the right move. Because he plays basically the whole first quarter. More or less, he's going to play 11 minutes out of the first quarter. And you're going to hope that he has 22 plus fantasy points at that point in time.
Yep.
And against Washington, no reason he can't do that.
Their implied total today. Well,
massive.
The Pacers, the Raptors have the third highest implied total at 121. Pacers have the second highest at 124.5. Dallas is at 131.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a crazy total.
It's massive, dude. It's massive. I'll be honest. I'm a little high on his points prop right now. Well, maybe even more than that. I tried to reduce it. I reduced his minutes as well. Still couldn't get to where that is. I expect him to just absolutely nuke this Washington team, especially now that the starting center for the Wizards is Marvin Bagley. Not exactly meeting a lot of resistance at the rim.
If any at all. Yeah, look, the only drawback is that they're 14-point favorites at home.
Yes. That does get tricky.
22.
It is. Luckily, I'll have quite a bit of the Washington side of this game too.
Yeah, well, that's a question worth asking, right? Because if you have a ton of Dallas and this game ends up staying close with a 248 total, mind you, much of that total is going to the Dallas Mavericks. There's no denying that.
Yes, it is.
Washington still though 118. They're
That's
still
not
like
bad.
it's not bad at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eighth highest on a 9-game slate. So
Yeah, they're an average total for today.
yeah, exactly. It's an average total, and you're probably going to get to some Washington as a result of that when you get a game with this high of a total. I hear you on Luka though. I mean, it's a phenomenal spot. God, if this game stays close, it's either because Luka's just having a terrible game or Washington finds some ways to produce. But Denny Avdia, Tyus Jones, Bagley, as you said, starting set, these guys are pulling some ownership.
Yeah, so I am getting the Avdia exposure. He's in 52% of my stuff, $5,900 small forward, playing like 31 minutes a night. I like the Avdia piece because I think that position's hard to fill. I have 2% of a 32% owned Tyus Jones. That one I don't like as much. He's going to play 30, 31 minutes, something on that in that neighborhood. Point guard only, 5,800. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. I think he's wildly overowned. We do have him with negative leverage, but we have Denny with even bigger negative leverage. So there's also that. I'm not a big believer in Tyus Jones here. I do really like Kyle Kuzma, 7,500 power forward center. He's going to play a decent chunk of center today, I would imagine. And I am coming in now 2x the field. He's 10% owned. I have 20. Not a big believer in Bagley. I don't trust the minutes. I don't think they care how much he's actually out there. In theory, Rashawn Holmes could be involved. I don't think they cut him. But I like Denny more than I like anything else for the Wizards.
So favorite plays from this game would be Denny Avdia and Luka Doncic.
Yeah, don't sleep on Kyrie either. 8,800 point guard, shooting guard, and he has just as much of a chance to beat the shit out of the Wizards as Luka.
He absolutely does. Yeah. What's his
certainly not going to anything else from Dallas? Like anybody that's trying to tout some sort of Daniel Gafford revenge narrative alert, you can pound sand on that one.
Oh yeah, that revenge, how upset he is getting away from Washington.
Yeah, I'm sure it's horrific to him.
He's sending gift baskets.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Kyrie's getting 10%. He's 8,800. Like you said, if Kyrie gets hot.
Yeah, I have 24% of Kyrie. Like I have 48 of Luka, 24 of Kyrie. Two big stands on both of those guys.
I don't know how long it will take you to pull this up.
You want to see if I have them together?
I want to see how much you have of them together.
Okay. Give me one second.
They can coexist. It's possible. They can definitely coexist. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you have of them together.
Give me 1 second and I can get there.
And the reason I'm most curious is because you're making up that's almost 21,000 in salary between two guys in the same backcourt.
Let's see.
And then past that, PJ Washington, none of these guys pulling any ownership whatsoever. And they really shouldn't be at this stage of the game. Like there's two guys that are going to be the most popular. There's two guys that should be, and there's two guys that are going to soak up the large majority of not only usage, but also, playmaking and passing and facilitating. So let me know when you pull that up and we can see. Because
I only have 3 lineups with them together.
Okay. I was going to say, I wouldn't think it was a ton of them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of salary for the same backcourt.
And 2 of those have Denny as well, which makes me feel at least a little bit better. If I'm going to have Luka and Kyrie, I want somebody from the Wizards.
You definitely want him playing the whole game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much else to talk about at all from Dallas.
We are on the same page. I don't have anything else, and I don't really think there's anybody else even worth talking about. And the fact that we only have 1% ownership going to anybody else probably tells that story better.
Before we wrap this up, shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. I must ask, you got some Prize Picks plays for today?
Damn right I do. We won 3 of our 5 last week, so that is a massive profitable week. We won on Thursday. We won on Friday, so we are going for the 3-peat today. Nikola Vucevic, less than 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Don't like that spot because of that ambiguity with Drummond. And then my second play, we just got done talking about it. Give me more than 51.5 points, rebounds, and assists to Luka.
I'm looking at Prize Picks now. Drewski cashed $1 million on Prize Picks.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's the best.
That's hilarious. He's hilarious.
Man. He's hilarious.
That's crazy. Prize Picks said everyone who tailed Drewski will get their split of the additional 1 million by noon Eastern tomorrow. They do a lot of cool stuff like that for
Yeah,
sure.
they do.
That's crazy, man. They have the
Shout
video
out
of it too.
Drewski.
If you go on their Twitter,
I'm sure he's going nuts.
and obviously like the guy has a lot of money, but when you do stuff like that, it's more than just that. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's not
Dude,
guy's not
winning
a
feels good no matter what the amount is, too.
yeah, and he's not a professional gambler. So he's like, holy
No.
shit, dude, I just want a million. That's really, really cool
It's still
stuff.
$1 million to even rich people is still a lot of money. Like, people wanted $1 million to win the in-season tournament. Like, that lands for even millionaires.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Look,
but
if you make $10 million in salary, like, you're only getting like 5 of that at best after taxes. An actual million is another 20% of that. Like, that's a massive amount of your money.
for sure. Links in the description and in chat. So yeah, if you want to check it out, $100 first match deposit bonus, 100%. So if you put 100 in, now you have 200. I bet Drewski did.
And then you bet whatever I put out, and you're automatically getting more money.
Yeah, so you're just double dipping into cash.
Josh Ski over here.
There it is. Even if you only have 20, you're getting 40. Also, you get a free month of everything we have. Josh was just talking about Odd Shopper, all of our plus EV plays for these DFS pick'em sites, like Prize Picks, Underdog, all of them. You're talking free, $50 value for the entirety of the month. So $100 first match deposit bonus. Really, it's 100% up to $100. So no matter what you put, you're getting it doubled. Getting all of Josh's picks. You're getting all the plus EV picks. You're getting the premium Discord. You're getting all of the expert picks over on the Odd Shopper channel. It's a nice little deal if you're not on Prize Picks yet. And all you're doing is taking more or less on these player projections. So like in today's case, maybe I love the Halliburton spots and I'm taking overs there. And Josh is grabbing the over on Luka points and you're putting them together. And if you hit 5, you're 10Xing on a 5-pick flex play. But even if you only hit 4, you're still 2Xing. So there's cool ways to minimize the damage and increase more wins. If you do a 6-pick flex play, it's 25X if you hit them all. You even make money back on 3 out of 5. So cool way to play, no doubt, especially if you're in those non-legal betting states. Jump on Prize Picks, check it out, link in the description and in chat. Let's finish this out with Golden State and Utah. The Warriors 1-point favorites against the Jazz, 241 total in this game. We'll start with Golden State, then we can close it out with Utah. So Draymond Green right now, power forward, center eligible. Lot of ownership going to Dre. Aside from that, not much going to the rest of this team. We can talk about Curry in a second. We do have him negatively leveraged, only 19.5% optimal, 30% ownership, minus 10.8% leverage. Where are you going with Dre? And then really the rest of this Warrior squad.
He won't be 30% owned. That'll go away. That's not going to be a thing.
Sub 6K doesn't look terrible though.
No, he's a completely reasonable play, but like that 30% ownership will not be 30% ownership the next time this runs. That's just not going to be the case. The optimal rate, 19%, even that to me feels a hair high, but fantastic spot against Utah, fast-paced team. Not a great defense, traded away 2 wing defenders, so it's not going to get any better. He's the best guy that you can get to from the Warriors. I have 6%. Like if he's 20% owned, then I probably have 10, probably 15 or something like that. But at 30%, he's just, to me, one of the easier guys to get away from. What that ends up looking like on the deeper dive, we'll have a very different discussion. You want a little bit of Kuminga, I think it's okay. You want a little bit of Clay, I think that's okay. They're both around like 8% optimal, 8% owned. Steph getting no love. I don't see it at all here. Really seems like Draymond is your best option, but that 30% ownership is not real.
So a lot of the Jazz are negatively leveraged, but there's a lot of ownership going here. George, Kessler, Dunn, even Clarkson and Collins getting some of that as well. I guess the question now becomes, do you think this ownership holds?
Some of it does, yeah. Like I think Keontae George is one of the best plays on today's slate. He's in 84% of my lineups, 4,200. The minutes are creeping up. He's a fantasy point per minute guy, or at least call it 0.95 if you want to. I have him 6x his salary. He's the guy that I have the most of anybody on today's slate. He's pulling 32% ownership. We do have some negative leverage on him, but he is the most optimal play also from Utah. But I'm not stopping there. I'm a little bit under on Chris Dunn. Minutes have been coming up a little bit because of some of the changes they made. He's 25% owned. I have 14. I'm getting to Jordan Clarkson, shooting guard, small forward, 5,800. We have him 11% owned. I have 24. We have him positively leveraged. By the way, we have massive negative leverage on Chris Dunn. We have massive negative leverage on Walker Kessler. I agree with that as well. I'm half the 28% of the field. But the guy that I'm getting to the most, call it another really fun GPP option, 8,400 small forward, power forward. Give me Lauri Markkanen at no ownership.
Jordan, can you go to our exposures go to the exposures for Utah? Because I'm trying to, by the way, we were getting actually 21% Halliburton, but that speaks to your point. It's a minutes thing. So I probably tonight, if this holds, I probably don't boost Halliburton at all. I'd be more than happy with 20% Halliburton personally.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have to boost that. Yeah.
No.
Because we've got him projected there. You can upload your own projections though, and ownership and everything, and things will look different. But okay, so yeah, we're getting more Keontae George than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 84%. I think he looks very clearly like the best option today from Utah.
How much marketing are you getting to right now?
I have 22%, which I love at 5% ownership especially in this lottery ticket GPP that's running today.
8,400, small forward, power forward eligible. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's funny too, because looking at all of the higher priced small forward options, Bridges, Barnes, Markkanen, Ingram, DiVincenzo, Siakam, Harris, you have to get all the way down to DeRozan until you get a guy that's pulling even close to 20%. I know we had Barnes around 13, but the entire top of small, I'll even go further, like Brandon Miller and RJ Barrett. None of these guys are getting a lot of ownership.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
It's a weird slate today, by the way.
That holds true at power forward too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like Wembanyama a little bit, but Bridges, Markkanen, Jackson, Siakam, Harris.
Not a lot.
Giannis, not a lot at all.
I feel like we poo-pooed Gian. I don't mean poo-pooed, but like Giannis is just out there like not being interesting today, which is kind of weird.
It is strange. I'm trying to see where all of the, like what positions all of the ownerships go. I know it's very spread out. Like we have nobody. Denny Avdia at 32% is our highest owned player right now in our ownership projections.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's high. He's what, like 30 or 31 or something like that. It's just flat. It's really, really, really flat.
It's real flat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course that can change if we get some news. There also isn't any massive news for this slate already that's new that prices haven't adjusted for yet. Maybe there's one piece that I'm missing and you could tell me, but I don't think there's any really big piece where you're like, well, he wasn't out. None of the prices have adjusted. And now you just play this whole team. There's really none of that.
No, we don't have that today.
Give me your top two point guard options.
All righty. Give me 1 second. Ooh, give me more than 1 second. Okay, there we go. Top two point guard options. Let's sort by point guards. I really need to just build this little sort for myself now that I do these shows with you.
Yeah, we should.
Keontae George is my most exposed point guard option. Luka would be number 2 for me, and then Emmanuel Quickly would be number 3 for me.
This is where so much value is coming from too. Trey Mann's up there in ownership.
Yeah.
George.
Oh, shit.
What's that?
I froze my sheet. But we're good. I can get it pulled back up pretty quickly.
Shooting guard.
Not that quickly.
Kobe White is the highest owned shooting guard at 18% right now. Devin Vassell at 16. This is really one of the weirder 9-game slates I've seen. Nembhard at 16, Clarkson at 12, Caruso at 11, Irving at 10.
I definitely had Kobe White in like 30% of my lineup, so I'm guessing Kobe White will be part of this. My sheet is opening back up right now.
I assume Kyrie Irving as well.
Yep. Kobe White and Kyrie.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Gary Trent if you want to get a little different.
Small forward. All right. So I just mentioned none of those top price guys outside of DeMar DeRozan, but it's Denny Avdia, Chris Dunn. As you mentioned, though, we have a lot of negative leverage on him in the boom bust tool. DeRozan, Barnes, Clarkson.
Yeah, for me, it's Denny, it's DeRozan, and then give me Markkanen as like a GPP guy.
I like that. Power forward. You mentioned there's no way Draymond Green stays around 30%.
No, that'll come down probably like 22, something like that in that neighborhood. I like Santi Aldama quite a bit. I mentioned Markkanen. I like Kuzma. DeRozan has already been mentioned, but those four guys are sort of the priorities for me.
Center's a wild position. It's really flat once you get past Turner and Kessler.
Well, I have 86% Isaiah Jackson right now, so I'm probably a little bit different.
That'll do it.
Yeah, so that's kind of changing everything for me. What'd you say?
How much Bagley do you have?
2%.
Okay. You're getting, I mean, we
hard to have a lot of centers when you already have 85% of Isaiah Jackson.
This is true. Yeah, no Grant Williams. I mean, there's no way you're going to land on 87% Isaiah Jackson.
No, it'll be like 86.
Might be. Then how much Turner are you getting in that same front court?
8.
I wonder if you have Turner Jackson lineups.
I mean, I only have like 4 Turner lineups, so I can't. There's only so many options.
You said 8% Turner?
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway. I doubt it. I don't have it up anymore from before, so.
Appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, deeper dive tonight. Live before lock. Taking you up to
you and me running back deeper dive.
Yeah, filling in for Greg. As a matter of fact, should be fun.
All right.
Should be
I should
fun.
have took that one off.
To Jordan. What's that?
I should have took it off.
Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman. Myself, Laffy_D. Yeah, Jake said Şengün news is huge. That is one where, yeah, that could make a difference for sure.
I really don't think it is.
You don't think? Why you think pricing?
It makes Jabari Smith look a little bit better, but I don't think Jeff Green looks good if Şengün's out.
Yeah, Jeff Green's never the most exciting option.
No.
Anyway, see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the NBA Deeper Dive. Until then, check out Josh's Prize Picks video over on the Odd Shopper channel. Highly recommend it, and everything else we've got going on there. We'll see you guys back here for the next one. Peace.
Peace.